Hi guys, my name is Bevan and welcome to this episode of The Emotional Graph. In this series, we analyze recommended films and understand the minute things that made them such favorites. In this episode, we are going to analyze the film Tamasha by Imtiaz Ali. This is a film that ended up being divided between audiences and what many of y'all recommended me to do. I myself remember watching this in theatre and really being at the edge of my seat. So understanding it took that much more time because I really wanted to understand the choices that were made and what about it made it such a good film for me. For those who haven't watched this film, I will highly recommend you to watch it. And for those who are also fans, please let me know if I have missed something or misinterpreted something. I would really like to know more. So let's immediately get started. Tamasha is a Hindi film by Imtiaz Ali, starring Ranbir Kapoor and Deepika Padukone. It's a story about a mediocre product manager Ved who is stuck in a race of life. It's about how love and heartbreak one day reveals who he truly is and his struggle to come to terms with it. Imtiaz Ali took this concept and dove in even deeper with the characters and the sense of struggle that would come with it. The film opens in an auditorium where the curtain raises and we see two characters, the robot and the fool. This sequence itself tells us what the story is about. A robot, a common man, who goes to the office in the morning and returns in the evening. He's one of the 142 people who rush for the 42-seater bus and stuck somewhere between his mind and his heart. Then when someone is able to get to his heart, he starts malfunctioning. This scene also tells the audience that this is a story unfolding and already places the idea of how storytelling and theatricality plays a huge role in plot and the film. The story first tells us about a boy who can never pay attention in class, who dreams and tells stories. We get to know the child Ved was, which played a huge part in shaping his personality. We are introduced to the old storyteller under the tree Ved would go to. We see a montage of all the stories he learned, the culture, the lessons he learned, and how he developed his sense of style and storytelling. We see this daydreamer who loves weaving stories in everyday scenarios. The montage has a beautiful grainy RGB effect that visually gives it a book effect, as though the picture in the storybook has come to life as we read it. Production-wise, I love how they use locations in and around Ved's house to narrate the stories. As a frequent daydreamer myself, I have to say it is a brilliant idea to keep the settings similar. Also, most of my childhood was filled with instances like this. Once we see the younger Ved, the film is then divided into 4 chapters, each in a way different from the other. The first one is called Tejaka. It's about two very much alike strangers who meet in a foreign fantasy land and spend an amazing time together. In Corsica, we see how the young Ved grew up to be. We see how these two story geeks meet and their thrill for theatricality. In this bit, I also love how they use the rewind to shift to Ved's perspective after seeing Taras. It goes perfectly with Ved's character and how he pauses and breaks through his role to take up the fake character of Turn. The entire chapter is filled with bright colors and music to bring out this fantasy world that these two have escaped. The chapter of Tejaka is clearly about the time these two spend in Corsica. Imtiaz Ali loves using time to build up his characters before having them fall in love. definitely taking a realistic approach of two individuals slowly stepping closer to one another. How their different paths somehow intersect for them to keep meeting. By the end of the chapter, we stick with Tara and lose Ved for a while. We see Tara's life and how it changed after Ved through a montage of the next 4 years. The second chapter, Ishq Wala Love, is about two lovers who finally meet after years. It starts all romantic and grand when they finally meet. And we as the audience finally get to see what Ved is like now. But of course, immediately we realize something is different in the way Ved is behaving. As we get to know Ved, the sequence of shots start repeating. All of Ved's shots are identical, like Groundhog Day, while Tara's shots, although look identical, are not. We get to know this mediocre product manager's life and how looped it is compared to what Ved was before. One thing I learned about editing is that it's a way to cut out the in-betweens. For example, if I ask you to recollect your activities of yesterday, you will only remember the highlights. Like that, we can edit the in-between moments that don't relate to the story. In the first chapter, I noticed the choice of keeping such in-between moments, like taking luggage upstairs, driving to places, small talk and awkward interactions. They help set the slow tempo of the film at first. I also noticed how these such moments actually allow us to study the character of Ved. We get to know a person by observing them. To understand their behaviors, we need to see their in-between moments of both Veds, which then help us notice their behavior and how odd Ved is acting in the second chapter. By the end of the chapter, Tara leaves the robotic Ved, and much like the fool that causes the robot to malfunction, Ved begins malfunction with his internal struggle, switching between the two different personalities. Ranbir Kapoor, of course, does a lovely job in portraying the struggle. By the third chapter, Andar Ki Baat, we get to know Ved's upbringing. Through a song montage, we see how his father's pressure slowly killed his child. The entire chapter, as stated, is about his internal struggle. Through this chapter, his malfunctioning gets more intense and on the face, ruining his entire production manager life as he slowly also revisits his storytelling talent. I love how, as he starts narrating the stories again, like the old storyteller, he starts under a tree. And then, in the final chapter, Dawn Returns, Ved finally tells us the entire story of the robot and the fool that we were introduced to in the very beginning. It's narrated beautifully with montages of different versions and attempts of the same story, interweaving different cultures and settings. Through this, we also get a sense of how innovative Ved is and how well he succeeded in this race. Another detail that I always love to find is an axis shift before and after a critical moment, helping to enhance the fresh perspective. At the end of the movie, we come to a full circle as Ved is revealed as a creative storyteller in the auditorium, taking a well-deserved bow and appreciating Tara in his life. I love the orchestral score through the movie that continues the drama or play-like experience, building in powerfully when needed. Tamasha definitely isn't the typical boy-girl love story because Imtiaz Ali weaves in such beautiful complexities and gives the story so much more detail, which is why it is one of my favorite films. Imtiaz Ali's Rockstar is also such another love story which has so much more details to it. I hope this analysis has helped you understand this movie even more. As I said before, if I have missed anything or misinterpreted anything, please do let me know in the comments. Keep suggesting films that I can analyze. I really do love watching new movies every chance I get, which takes time, but I will surely get to it. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't hit the like button, please do like it and share and subscribe to watch new videos. Thank you and stay safe.